I kept going in and out of hospital, even though we had a very healthy lifestyle. I think somewhere inside me, I knew there was something more that could be done. I got a food poisoning. The next day, my body was full on. I've never had an allergic reaction like that. And she gave me now what I see, a very basic protocol of an anti-inflammatory diet. But back then, that was the protocol. It was mind-blowing how my health improved.
What are we doing to promote inflammation in our bodies?
A lot of stuff. The list is really long. We're not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
Until very recently, it wasn't even published that women need to sleep more than men. Now they're asking, why are there more women with autoimmune conditions than men? So one of the big factors is stress and sleep.
Emotional regulation.
Emotional regulation.
I like the idea, if I surround myself with happy people, I might be happy from the inside out.
Yeah. Supplements should never substitute the food or the source, because the way it comes naturally is the best way we can absorb it. I don't want patients to be dependent on me forever. I want to help them have tools to manage their condition.
Welcome to the Living a Life in Balance podcast. My name is Abdullah Boulad. I'm the founder and CEO of the Balance Rehab Clinic. My guest today is Fernanda Lima Sento Sé, clinical dietitian, researcher, and expert in gut health and inflammation. In this episode, we dive into the deep connection between what we eat and how we feel physically, mentally, and emotionally. Fernanda shares her personal journey from growing up in a family of dancers and athletes to pursuing nutrition as a science after a health crisis during university led her to discover the power of food as medicine. We explore how inflammation affects the body and brain, the rise in autoimmune conditions, and why our modern diets filled with highly processed foods are contributing to anxiety, depression, and chronic illnesses. Fernanda breaks down the foundations of an anti-inflammatory diet, the importance of the microbiome, and how to read the signs your body is sending you, including through something as simple as analyzing your stool. I hope you will enjoy. Fernanda, what motivated you to do what you do today?
I think probably my parents. My parents were professional dancers, and my mom before that was a professional athlete. So healthy lifestyle was just how we lived at home. It's how I grew up. So probably that's the first seed that was planted.
As dancers, how do you live your life in a healthy way?
At home, we just had a very healthy, we ate a lot of fruits, we had a lot of water, very healthy lifestyle. My brother and I grew up doing a lot of exercise and physical activity and spent a lot of time outdoors and at the beach. And and just what my parents considered late 80s a healthy diet. And they just kept doing that. I think that's been their lifestyle, and they transmitted that to us. And then throughout the years, I became more and more interested on the impact of nutrition and health. And I myself became an athlete, semi-professional, local team here in Mallorca as a gymnast. And they were very on top of us on our weight. And I saw some of my colleagues trying to lose weight in the wrong way. Others will just snack sweets. And I was just, I just snack fruit or a small sandwich. It was always quite healthy compared to the rest of people around me. And that just kept my interest. And when the time came, I said, I think I want to study medicine or nutrition or something to do with health, but probably something to do with health and food, because I was always very passionate about food. Both of my parents studied physical education. My mom started doing a postgraduate in nutrition, but then she got hired by this company to tour around the world as a dancer, so she stopped that. So I think that probably it's something I took in so much at home. I just thought it was very interesting. And I was also a kid that was always sick. I had asthma, I had allergies. I kept going in and out of hospital, even though we had a very healthy lifestyle. So I think somewhere inside me, I knew there was something more that could be done to improve. And there was this willingness to know more.
When did you discover like the situation with your asthma and allergies? What did help you there? Was there any nutrition side which was helping you, or?
In Spain, not really.
No.
In Spain, nutrition is quite recent. So I graduated 15 years ago and I was 10th promotion. So it only really exists for 25 years. But when my family is Brazilian, I'm originally Brazilian. When we went back to Brazil, we used to encounter with these different doctors or healthcare professionals that had a different perspective from what we were getting here in Spain. And one of the doctors gave some tips, like don't drink milk, which I naturally disliked. So that was easy. Eat more fruits and more vegetables, which was also easy because we did it at home, and some water. And then he talked about dairy. So we started removing some dairy from the day to day, and small changes. But I still had this big allergy reactions. It wasn't until I was an adult that I understood why my body was reacting, how it was reacting.
Was this a health professional, a doctor in Brazil?
It was a doctor in Brazil,
Yeah.
and he was specialized in Chinese medicine. And he was linking the consumption of some foods to the generation of more mucus in your respiratory system.
Yes.
And this still is a thing that people talk about a lot. But now with modern medicine and research, it's not so much about what you eat, it's the quality of your gut microbiome. Yes. So it goes a bit more into that direction. But it helped. It relieved a lot of my symptoms. But it was triggered due to allergies. So something was there in my immune system that wasn't very, very right or functioning, not in such an alert mode where it's creating an excessive effect. So I would have like severe asthma, for example, a lot during the winters.
I understand at that time you didn't realize where this has been coming from, how to treat it, but the eagerness to understand yourself and what could help. But when we look at around the world, like asthma or any type of allergies are increasing.
Yes.
And more people are suffering from allergies. And now we are in this time of the year where you can hear the people around when you walk around the streets suffering.
Suffering, yeah.
Where is this coming from, and why are more and more people increasingly suffer from allergies?
So allergy is a physiological reaction to protect our system. There's a foreign substance or thing, we could say, because pollen is a thing, that comes and triggers your immune system. And the response of your immune system is modulated by several things. And the biggest proportion of it that modulates it is nutrients. And that's what feeds how our immune system responds. So I've been having this theory for many years. I'm not alone in this theory as well. Yeah. How we've been eating has a direct impact on how our body responds towards our immune system. Because basically, if you have an anti-inflammatory diet, which is a concept that's been changing throughout the last 2 to 3 decades, an anti-inflammatory diet will help your body have less of an acute response. So it's like a mosquito can bite you. Some people will just have that little red dot.
Yeah.
And some other people will have a huge inflammation and will be really red. And that's because that person's reaction and buildup of histamine is much higher than other individuals. And that's modulated. One of the things is food, but it can be stress, it can be sleep, it's a multifactorial effect.
And you think this effect, how we individually react to our environment, is this more genetic or epigenetic related, like this lifestyle and the food we are eating, as you mentioned?
There's two things. There's the genetic part. So some allergies and some tendencies to be allergic is a genetical factor. So it's inherited from your parents. But then the way you respond is an epigenetic. So you have the factor that you will react to a substance. For example, let's say pollen, which is the most common one. You will react to pollen. How you react to it is an epigenetic circumstance where how you manage your life has an impact on how your body responds.
I'm not a genetics expert by far, but when I think about it, we consider genetics as something like so fixed. This has been always the case, and this is our genetics. But genetics can also evolve over time.
Yeah.
Like the epigenetics of our ancestors affect our genetics. So
Yes.
the way they have been living, the environment they have been living in, what they have been eating has been affecting. So genetics can be also something like generational epigenetic process.
And you yourself can change your own genetics by your lifestyle. If you continuously live in a situation where you are in stress, in alert mode, you don't have a balanced diet, you just eat on whatever you find, and you don't sleep well, you're highly exposed to screens and blue light, you don't expose yourself to nature, the list goes on. If you don't use products that don't have that have artificial scents, that have microplastics, all of these factors can impact your genetics directly or indirectly, depending on the volume that you're exposed to, but they all have an impact. But this is only something that we very recently know. When I was studying in university, the view was genetics was a fixed thing 15 years ago. Now, genetics can modify. We can change our genetics. We can, because if we continuously have this response, then it kind of like stays with you. You modify it, and then you pass it on to the next generation. And then it's harder to go back and make it not work like that.
We will get deeper into
Yes.
that. But maybe back to the moment where you decided you want to study, and how did you get into it? What have you done? And what were your further studies?
So I went into nutrition, human nutrition and dietetics, with the view that I wanted to link it with sports performance, because I was doing sports every day. It was a big part of my life. I was training from 2 to 4 or 5 hours, depending on the day. And it was a big thing. And I said, I can do this. And my dad has a close friend who's like an uncle to me. He was a professional athlete. And he's like, sure, if you get into that, I'll help you get in a good place in this world of nutrition and sports. I was like, easy. And on my second year of my bachelor's degree, I got a food poisoning from a pizza with, it had shrimps. I'll remember forever. It had shrimps. I was sitting with some good friends that came from Mallorca to Barcelona to visit. And the next day, my body was full on. I've never had an allergic reaction like that. But previously to that, I did have several asthma crises and feeling very tired and lethargic and this foggy brain. And I didn't really know what was going on, why I was feeling like that. And then with this histamine poisoning, it's called, when you eat seafood that's not right, you can have this histamine intoxication, which is very close to an anaphylactic shock. So by the time I got to the ER, they rushed me through. It was full-on season of the flu. Public hospital in Barcelona, super busy. And they're like, go in. This girl needs to get checked immediately. And my teacher the next day was like, hey, why are you missing so much classes? And I pulled my top up and I said, look, I've had this massive allergic reaction. Yeah. And I don't know why. And she's like, but you've been skipping more. And I said, yeah, I've had asthma, I've had sinusitis, rhinitis. I've been feeling quite low. and sick and I don't know what to do. And she's like, let me help you. And she gave me now what I see, a very basic protocol of an anti-inflammatory diet. But back then that was the protocol. And she said, do it very, very strict for 1 month. And I'll check on you every 2 weeks. And I felt so much better. It was mind-blowing how my health improved. That after 3 months, I was like, oh, wow, I'm not feeling tired. I have much more energy. Yeah. It's like, what can I do to make this keep going? Is it just this or is there more? And then I said, I want to help others. A little fact that I didn't mention, I have an autoimmune condition. Mm-hmm. It's called Scleroderma. I'm very lucky. I have it only on my skin. So I'm one of the lucky ones with an autoimmune condition. So that also contributed to that foggy brain and the fatigue and be feeling very tired. And with the anti-inflammatory diet, all of that kind of disappeared. Mm-hmm. And I had my checkup with my allergologist, and she was like, what did you do? Your response to allergens are much lower. And I said, oh, I did an anti-inflammatory diet. I'm on 6 months. Mm-hmm. And she looked at me, she was like, really? Is that it? And I was like, yeah, that's it. I changed the way I'm eating. I'm sleeping better. I'm resting better. Mm-hmm. I'm focused on, I've always done sports and drank water and ate vegetables, but there was a few things to modify that really did the change, which was consuming less meat. Coming from a Brazilian family, it's a big deal. And I stopped eating processed foods because until I was in university, I didn't realize that on my day-to-day, I was eating processed foods. So I was eating sandwich breads every morning. And I was like, oh, that's going out. Yeah. And sweeteners on my coffee, that also left. I swapped it for green tea. Little changes. I ate more fish. And that just... took some probiotics, which back then was very basic, only some strains and that's it. And it helped a lot. Ate fermented foods. And that was basically it. And it really, really made a huge improvement. Mm-hmm. And then I said, I want to help others feel how I feel. And I think I have a tool that I can use to help individuals with autoimmune conditions and chronic allergies. Mm-hmm. And it's something that no one's talking about. And I went crazy researching online. And I did my thesis for my bachelor's degree on scleroderma and nutrition. I created a whole protocol. I contacted universities around the world, like, what do you guys do? What are you working on? How do you react? And they're like, are you calling from Spain? There was no LinkedIn. The internet was very basic. Yes. So it was really hard to find information about a lot of stuff. You just had a few papers that were published and telephone numbers from universities that you could reach out. Mm-hmm. So I called Mayo Clinic. Now I laugh at how naive I was when calling the big institutions around the globe, asking.
But this was your eagerness to learn and to understand. and for sure, it was an amazing moment when you realized, it's nutrition which is making a big change and not medication maybe you have had before.
Exactly. And I discovered several doctors from the US talking about precision nutrition and functional medicine. Nowadays, they're big names internationally, but they inspired my journey in nutrition. And I remember finding a webpage from this clinic in California. And all these doctors were in this clinic and they were having yearly gatherings with other healthcare professionals. And I looked at the prices, still in uni, super, no money. And I was like, there's no way I can afford this. It's like $120,000 for a long weekend. I can't afford this. But they were publishing videos shortly. Yeah. And they had blogs and I was reading. Then I started looking at their papers that they were publishing. And that was the beginning of my journey in nutrition and autoimmune conditions.
Yes. How do you explain inflammation in our body? What is it exactly? Where does it come up, manifest in our bodies?
it can manifest in many ways. So you have different types of inflammation. You have the acute one, which is when you hurt yourself and it's swollen. That's the acute one. And then you have the silent chronic inflammation, which is the one that feeds on stress, lack of sleep, cortisol, simple sugars, saturated fats. Try to visualize a bucket that you have these little drops, and it slowly fills up. So it's just a very slow, silent process that you don't feel that is happening. And then suddenly the bucket starts overflowing and you're getting chronic headaches, chronic joint pains, bloating nearly every day. Your rest is not restorative. You feel like you haven't rested after a sleep. And then little things start becoming big. You feel your mental health starts not being so good. It starts degrading. You're easily more stressed. So the stress gets bigger. And suddenly it's spring and you have an allergy. And instead of just having an itchy nose, it's a full blown up allergy reaction. So that's the silent one, the one that slowly comes. And then at some point, what's meant to be a small reaction becomes a big reaction. And then with individuals with autoimmune conditions, basically the silent inflammation just makes your symptoms be more acute or more chronic. So if you have an autoimmune, let's talk about the one I have, Scleroderma. One of the symptoms you can have is chronic fatigue. You can have joint pain. You can have dry skin. So in my case, I was feeling the foggy brain, the tiredness, the bloating as well, and heavy digestions. And slowly, all of those symptoms improved. So it's not a dramatic change, but if you live with this on a daily basis, when you experience months of zero chronic fatigue, zero bloatiness, zero foggy brain, you feel like your life has been on another level. You've gained quality of life.
It is one of the biggest underlying causes for so many other health conditions, mental and physical.
Mental and physical health.
But people may not be realizing that it's an element they should look at, and that diet could help with that. So I'm just thinking, how can we give more information or understanding what is inflammation and how to tackle it, even though we don't know, because a lot of people would have inflammation.
They're trying to create estimates of numbers, and it's very hard because it's so silent. There's some people just get used to some of the symptoms. So slightly headache, slight joint pain, slightly takes longer to recover from working out, for example. Because you can go to the gym, but if your diet is poor, gym, let's say it's 1/7 of the impact of gaining health. And then diet is 1/5, it's 5 out of 7. So diet has a big role on how our body responds. The other aspects is sleeping and resting. But diet is really important, because if you exercise but you don't have the good diet, your body can't recover correctly. And on a daily basis, it's the same. Sleeping. If people sleep and they wake up every single day, oh, I'm tired. Oof, I didn't rest well. I think I need more hours. And they're having reasonable amount of hours, 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep, still feel really tired. That could be one sign. Bloating is now the trending topic on on social media. A lot of people talking about they're feeling bloated, feeling heavy, but they eat clean and healthy. Why is it? It's because they're having probably stress that's contributing to this silent inflammation.
Yes.
So little habits are necessary to modify, to improve those symptoms. But I think most people only realize when they have a trigger or they have a big symptom. So suddenly they develop a digestive disorder or chronic migraines. And that's when they want to have a change. But if you do it before, it will be much easier and you'll have less impact on your body.
So you mentioned, let's say, inflammation in the gut. Where else in the body could like an inflammation manifest or usually would be visible?
Visible. The skin is a very easy one. Women more than men, so liquid retention is one of those symptoms. A skin that reacts a lot, like if something scratches you, it gets red immediately. Pimples. Adult acne when you have a reasonable, healthy lifestyle. That could be one of the giveaways. Tension in your jaw, tension in your joints. Pretty sure colleagues that work with manual therapies like a physiotherapist and osteo could agree. You can see the stiffness on people's body when they have a lot of inflammation. So that could be one of the things, yeah.
So you're saying like tension in my jaw is like an inflammatory process?
It's physical tension, and that causes inflammation here. So at some point, your muscles don't have the ability to relax properly.
Yes.
Because you hold to so much tension and stress, then you're creating a chronic inflammation, and then it stays there.
Yes.
And then usually people at nighttime is when they feel it more, when they're doing the grinding their teeth.
What are we doing to promote inflammation in our bodies?
A lot of stuff. The list is really long, but when it comes to diet, is not drinking enough water. It's the number one mistake that most dietitians see in the practice. People are not aware that we need to hydrate ourselves. So we need a good quality of water and a regular intake.
What is a good quality? I mean, what is the difference between the quality water and not?
So we need mineral water. And if it's naturally mineral, it's better than synthetically manufactured. Tap water, for example, has a lot of chlorine in it. So people are trying to remove the chlorine. If you live in a place like Mallorca, we have a little bit of hard water. Other places in the world that do so as well. So we try to remove that hard water, but by removing it, we remove also some other minerals that are essential for hydration. And then we go to like basic, you have to go back to when we were in school and we're studying osmosis and how it works. And if we don't have enough minerals, the water will be dragged towards the area where there's highest concentration of minerals. So the water that we take needs to have some minerals.
Tap water is not the healthiest water we would drink. I heard there are different ways. There are water from the mountains or water from the ground.
Yes.
Are there differences? Are there regional differences? What makes a quality better than others?
There's geographical differences, very significant, but they're both good qualities of water. It just depends where you live. One could be more accessible than the other. And then some places you're going to just have to drink tap water or bottled water. And tap water could be decent quality, but not the best. The base is you need to drink water.
Yes, you have to. That's what we consist the most of.
Exactly. That's what we consist the most of. And a lot of the people are depriving themselves from the water intake. So I would just go to the very, very basic where you need to be hydrated.
I mean, when we drink water, you go to the supermarket, maybe most people around the world, they buy their water in plastic bottles. And so we know it's a big topic as well out there, like microplastic and where this comes from, especially if, like, say, plastic bottled water stand in the sun for hours and they... What's your thought around and recommendations around buying, getting water transported?
It's a big topic now. It's very trendy for the last couple of years. I think it's tricky because not everyone can afford water that comes in a glass bottle. So it's hard when you work helping people to say this is black and white. Now we're in a situation where we need to lie a bit in the gray area. Ideally, glass bottles are better to carry water around, or metal bottles. But the industry commercialized them in plastic. The majority of the water comes commercialized in plastic. People need to have an access to it. So until the industry doesn't change their model, not drinking water is worse for your health than drinking water from a plastic bottle.
Okay.
Yes, I think you need to drink water, and if you can, from a glass or a metal bottle, that will be ideal. If you can't, then it's a little bit of a gray area. Not ideal, though. People think it's not that a big issue, but I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 of my patients drink less than a liter of water a day.
How can we change the habit around drinking water? I mean, there are the apps that they remind you and all these things, and we run through the day, maybe stressed, distracted, from one thing to another. We eat, but we forget to drink. You shouldn't drink while you eat. So many rules you need to take care of. At the end, you don't know anymore when to drink.
So soft drinks has taken over the space where water was, and alcohol consumption as well. So both are there where water should be most of the times. Let's go back to anthropology. Alcoholic beverages were at some point created so we could have a safe source of hydration, because it was not always available to drink from a healthy source of water. So that was a way of hydration. That's what they believed. Nowadays, we have harsher alcoholic beverages, which actually dehydrate us. And so for me, it's also coffee. Coffee is another one. Coffee has taken over. People feel tired. Oh, I'm feeling a bit tired. And instead of having the immediate response, I'm going to have a glass of water, they have a coffee, which does the complete opposite effect that we want. Instead of rehydrating us, it dehydrates us. So you get the little kick of cortisol, adrenaline kick. You feel energized for 2 hours, and then it drops, and then it really drops, and you feel really, really exhausted. So I think water has been removed of the site, and other beverages have taken place.
So we need to get back to just having more habits around drinking water.
Yeah.
What I do, for example, when I stand up in the morning, I drink my glass or two as much as possible in water, add some lemons into it, because I understand it activates my whole digestive system, and it helps me to regain. Does it have the same effect later on in the day as well when we drink water? Let's say, because you mentioned when you're tired, should I drink a glass of water? Does it help to some degree?
Yeah. If you're feeling very tired, if you're having like a foggy brain, it's the first signs of dehydration. Dry lips, it's another sign. Headache. It's this very slight headache that starts here, sign of dehydration. So our body gives us like little signs that's signaling to us, hey, you're dehydrated. But we live in a society, in the modern society, where we're very disconnected from our physiological responses, and we don't know how to interpret them very well. A lot of people feel like, oh, I'm tired, I need to eat something. Sometimes thirst is mistaken for hunger.
Yes. We got into the water topic because of the inflammation.
Yes.
So if we drink a lot of water, this helps the body to reduce the inflammation.
It does.
In what way?
So we're mostly made out of water, and water is makes part of physiological, let's say, equations, so metabolic reactions in our body. And without the water, we're putting our body into more stress. So if we're lacking water, our body is stressed out because it can't get the water, or it needs to work harder to get H2O to do those metabolic reactions. And that creates more cortisol in your system, and that creates more inflammation in your system. But if you're correctly hydrated, your body doesn't need to work so hard. That's one part. And then the other part is it transports nutrients and helps us eliminate what we don't need as well, through the urine, but also through our feces. So if we don't have enough water in our system, the stools stay in our intestines, in our large intestines, for longer than it's needed, especially in the colon area. So your body just says, uh-oh, you're not drinking water, so you're not going to the bathroom. The stools are staying here, and we're going to extract as much water as we can out of it, because it's a source of the fecal bolus is the main source of, one of the main sources of water. It gets reabsorbed. And it just stays there. And then you get this other effect. You get constipated and you get bloated. And it's when you have severe constipation, it can cause other issues. So then you have another chain of factors that could possibly happen just because we're not drinking water.
I'll definitely start to drink more water. What else are we doing in our lives, in today's society, which is like supporting the inflammations, chronic inflammations?
So I'm going to start with the basics, which is not eating enough fruits and vegetables. That's another thing we see a lot. And relying a lot on processed foods and drinks. That's the big factors that could promote into the silent inflammation or the chronic inflammation.
What about stress?
Stress is a big one. Emotional regulation is directly linked with stress. And for those who don't know yet, now it's everywhere, but our gut and our brain are physically connected by the vagus nerve, but it's also indirectly connected by how our hormones and our metabolism work. So if we don't have a good diet, we are affecting how our brain manages our emotions and stress, and the other way around. If we don't manage our stress and our emotions very well, that's going to affect our digestive system, and that's going to affect how we absorb nutrients. So it's a cycle. We're not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
It's a big part of our health, which we're not addressing properly. And individuals are not sleeping enough. Until very recently, it wasn't even published that a woman needs to sleep more than men.
Yeah? Okay. And why? Why is that so?
Because we have a hormonal cycle that has a variation, a very drastic one. So it needs more rest, especially when there's a menstruation period.
Okay.
Also, because the woman's brain can actually multitask much more than male brain in some aspects.
Yeah, I can confirm that.
The ones that have kids can really see it very clearly. Like mom brains are another level of brain function. When it comes to the evening, they need to be able to recover. And now they're trying to link this. I know there's many studies going on where they're trying to link this with autoimmune conditions. Because now they're asking, why are there more women with autoimmune conditions than men? So one of the big factors is stress and sleep.
Emotional regulation.
And then how we are exposed to chemicals. Women, they dye their hair, they use nail varnish, they use makeup. They're more exposed to cleaning products than men in general.
Yeah.
In majority. So all this chemical exposure also has an impact. And with food also, one of the things that I find fascinating that I've only recently discovered is we're in a society where food comes from a supermarket. Nicely packaged, with a lot of hygiene. And some are hydroponic, and we have all these new technologies improving the food industry. one of the biggest problems that we're having now is that the microbiome that originally comes from the food and should contribute to your microbiome, we're losing it because it's all hygienized and clean. We are losing this exposure to certain types of microbiome. And there's a very famous paper where they're showing that kids that live in farms have a less chances to develop asthma, for example, than kids that live in the cities. And possibly one of the exposures is to the different kinds of microbiomes.
Yeah.
Those kids actually have a much more diverse microbiome than those that just live and sleep in an apartment and not very exposed to those bacteria. So I grew up in a generation, late 80s, 90s, where everything was sterilized, and now we're actually promoting completely the different. Let your kids put their fingers in the soil.
Yeah, but that's also something what I experienced or I experienced as a child. It was very, very hygiene and clean, and because it was meant like everything has to be like that. But we learned over the years, my wife and I, to be more dirty in that sense. It's difficult for me to accept, but with dirty I mean live around animals, be with them. We have a little farm, like with chicken and horses and dogs. And just 2 days ago, I was with my son with the chicken, and he likes to works around them and prepare their houses and so on. And then he brings the little axe and then gives me in my hand. So I'm automatically connected with it through them, because they have it now more than I had it. So that's the learning we have been doing as a family, basically.
Yeah, I also think society is changing this perspective and is shifting back to how it originally was. I think the other big thing is breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is the second source of enrichment of our gut microbiome, and is in charge on how our immune system responds. The number of papers that talk about this is crazy. Like they're publishing every day more and more papers linking breastfeeding with one thing or the other, different kind of parameters in health, immune response, chances to cancer, and the list is really long. But before that, the other thing that's very important is the birth of a child. So if you have a natural birth, that's the first exposure you have to microbiome, and that directly has an impact on how your gut, or that baby's gut microbiome, will then respond. And that's just their acquired immunity that comes from the mother. Some comes from the father. And then the first 1,000 days of life of a child is extremely important, where breastfeeding, exposure to animals, to natural dirt, not the ones from the car fumes, but just natural dirt, to animals, to just diversity, other children, other adults, just builds a better immune system. We, as animals, have always lived in community, and living in community has demonstrated, and we pass our microbiome one to another as well. So that's a reinforcement also from our immune system. And we're slowly living more and more isolated and not exposed to that many amount of people.
Yeah. While you were talking also about like the environment and what we use, and women were like more in contact with, let's say, like creams and hair products and so on. I was just thinking about one of my daughters who just turned 13, and she in social media, and I've been observing this a little bit, like it's a big hype around how you do your skin care and how you treat your hair and what type of products. And it's a huge industry around that. And, I was always trying to explain to her, look, these products are not always helpful. So as they are promoting this, and having more a natural hydrating approach is better. And And I tried to give her also alternative information, alternative little podcasts or information she can read about, so to make her own opinion and not just to believe what she watches there. But it's a big hype because this is one of the biggest topics within the girls, particularly at school and within their friend circle, and they show each other, now I have this, I don't want to mention brand, this is the new one, and have you tried this? And that's the society we are in today.
They even have those mini fridges where they store their makeup. I'm godmother of 4 girls, and 3 of them are teenagers now. One of them very obsessed with makeup, like your daughter. And it's very hard because we grew up in a society where you got home, you had TV and your parents and your friends from after school activities. There wasn't much external influence. So what your parents taught you at home had a very huge impact. Now, I think parents sometimes are struggling to fight social media.
Yes.
It's quite hard. I think you have alternatives with natural products, non-toxic. I really hope some of the toxins used or some of the toxic products used in some beauty lines are not allowed to be used anymore. But it takes a long time. These laws to get processed, to demonstrate, it's such a huge work. Like, we've known for 20 years that PFAs are not healthy, which is the anti-adherent product that's on pants, the black thing on the pants. Now, we have laws that have been approved in half of Europe where it's not going to be commercialized anymore. But you've had a whole scientific community trying to fight this back for years. And it's not until now that they found a lot of pressure, especially from social media. So there's also some good things from social media where they're banning, because that's another hormonal disruptor. And that also creates chronic inflammation. So we are exposed to a lot of things that have an impact. We can decide on a lot of things. We can decide the origin of our food, where we source it from, which kind of products we're using to clean the house, or personal hygiene products. But then what cooking ware you're using at home. It's something that I really like from the southern part of Europe. They're very Spain, Italy, France. They're very attached to their traditional pans and traditional way of cooking. And now that all this evidence is out there, I appreciate it even more, because the way they've been so like, no, it needs to be this pan and cooked this way, has demonstrated that actually that pan and that way is healthier than the new modern pans.
Yes, that's all contribute to the toxins we have, and I'm pretty sure our body can react and can clean up most of the toxins, but to a certain degree, like the example you gave, like little drops, if it's becoming full, then it's too much. We cannot handle anymore. So you mentioned stress, not enough water,
fruits and vegetables,
the environmental toxins. Did we miss anything?
We're missing the proteins and the carbs.
Yes.
So when we eat carbs have been a big debate. I'm still a big fan of whole grain bread and having potatoes and pulses. They are an incredible source of different kinds of fibers that are necessary for our system, a different kind of short chain carbohydrates that help produce, for example, butyrate, which is essential to regulate our how we manage our mental health. It has a direct impact on depression if we don't have enough butyrate in a system. So all these little changes, when people remove one thing and then do more of the other, then it affects. So I really I'm a big fan of carbs, but in a moderate quantity, small quantities. So Mediterranean style, New Nordic style, traditional, local carbs are very good. And then proteins, humongous trend nowadays on hyper-protein diets, shakes, different source. I have no idea. Every time I look in the supplement shops, I see more and more of these powders. And first of all, 70% of the people taking them don't need them. With a diet, you can get enough proteins, but a lot of people don't know how to calculate how much proteins we need.
How much do we need?
So the minimum is 0.8 grams per kilogram. So how we translate this is a tricky part, where people say, oh, so I need 0.8. If I weigh 60, I need 60 grams. So 60 grams of chicken. No. Then inside each protein source, we have different quantities of protein. So you have to elaborate a little calculation. Ideally, for me, it's 1 gram of protein. 1.2. If you have a reasonable active life where you do exercise 4 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week, 1.2 grams, that will be ideal.
There are different types of diets. Let's say you mentioned carbohydrates are needed, and protein depends on your body weight. Like keto diet, for example, eliminates carb completely.
Yeah.
So but many have been claiming it has been helping them manage weight and manage blood sugar and other mental health issues in some cases. Do you have experience with this specific type of diet, and where would you see deficiencies arise on the mid-long term?
I'm a fan for keto diet for specific conditions. So it's been very useful for kids with schizophrenia, for example. It's been one of the therapies that they've tried to implement. But then it's very tricky with keto diet, because how was that person eating before? We only talk about the results of this diet, but we never talk about how was that individual eating before doing a keto diet. In my experience, most people come from an uncontrolled diet where they had no knowledge of what they were eating. They read a book, do a small research, and they implement a keto diet. The thing is, if you're at that moment starting a keto diet and you're struggling with mental health conditions, if you do it without control and supervision, it could lead to you to have more stress and anxiety and could have a negative impact on your health. Uncontrolled keto diet eliminates a whole group of fermentable fibers, could create constipation, could create liver issues, so could create renal issues as well. So it needs to be done correctly and shouldn't be your long-term diet. It's unsustainable.
Difficult. Yeah, it's unsustainable. I feel I heard and read a lot about the keto diet. I tried it myself also for a while, but it's just not sustainable.
It's
for
unsustainable.
Me at least. If you live in an environment and social and interact and travel, if every type of diet or way of living, if you do it strict in a controlled environment and don't interact and don't change, but then it becomes so strict. Is this life?
It has a huge toll on mental health. Huge toll. It's really, really hard. And it creates more stress, and we don't want that kind of stress. But it can be used for different things. But I always think diets where you elimination diets, depending the type it is. It can be keto, it can be low FODMAPs, it can be low histamine, we have infinite, it can be vegetarian and vegan. If you don't know how to do it, get informed by a professional. This is the first thing I always say. The amount of vegetarians that sat on the other side of my desk and have all group of issues or body physiological responses. And it's because they didn't know how to do a real vegetarian diet or a vegan diet. Because you can be vegan and still eat candy.
Oh, yeah.
You can be vegan and still only eat pasta and bread and potato, but you're not eating the vegetables that you need. You're not having a balanced source of proteins. So you need to be, if you don't know, ask for help. It's like when you start driving a car. You don't know. Someone's teaching you, or you learn how to ski or snowboard. You don't know. You get a teacher, you get a coach, you get someone to teach you. So if you're trying a new type of diet where you don't have enough knowledge, and to be honest, nowadays anyone can publish a book and say claims of scientific evidence, but doesn't really have them, it can have a negative impact. I've seen so many people doing this kind of restrictive diets, especially because I've been working with low FODMAPs diet for a long time for IBS individuals. And even doctors have been implementing this protocol incorrectly because you only have a little bit of the information. You don't have all of it. It's like you need to take antibiotics for this. Okay, how much? How many days? Do I need to take probiotics afterwards? You know, all this kind of, it's the same. It's applicable the same for these different kind of diets. Same comes to low histamine. People come to me and say, oh, I've tried that diet, doesn't work. Okay, how did you do it? How long did you do it? Did you do the phases? Phases? That's usually the response. Are there phases in the diet? It's like, yeah. It's like intermediate fasting as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Love it. But you have to do it properly.
Yes.
And you can't have stress. If you're very stressed and you put this on top of your plate that's super full, it could make things harder.
And it shows me also that every person is individual and there cannot be that one size fits all.
Exactly.
So like talking to like an expert like you are with experience in the different areas can be more directive, specific about my personal health condition, if it's something severe, and not just like, okay, I'm healthy or I feel healthy and I just want to lose weight or something like
Exactly.
that. But even then, there are differences, and your body metabolism and reacts differently to different types of food, and just trust on general information out there is not sufficient.
Exactly. It's not sufficient. And also, people have different lifestyles. It's not the same. I don't have kids than someone that has 3 kids. How do you juggle an elimination diet with the 3 kids and taking them to school and cooking for the whole family? This is what I see every day in the practice.
Yes.
How do I juggle this? How do I break it down? It's not here a book, do it from here. No, let me take you step by step on how we can incorporate this to your lifestyle. And if it's not doable, I will be very honest and say, maybe now's not the time. We need to wait a couple of months until you eliminate some things from your plate that's quite full, and then we'll tackle this down. Because stress is the biggest trigger of digestive conditions, for example. And if the person sitting in front of me is so stressed that adding another thing in the list is going to make them even more stressed, I'd rather just send them to a colleague who's a psychologist or a psychiatrist and help them manage their mental health. Or if they need to change lifestyle, do more exercise, take some more time off, whatever helps them to reduce the stress level.
Yeah.
And then we can assist this, because it makes it harder for them.
That's interesting what you just said, because so people may come to you because of a health condition or a gut nutritional advice, sports advice around their weight and so on. But when would you consider to recommend to them to go to a psychologist or a psychotherapist to get help on stress and other issues which affect as an underlying cause their condition?
So most registered dietitians, we get coached on diagnosing when someone has tendencies to eating disorders. So that's the first red flag. When you see that someone's playing, I've done this diet and this one and this one, and then we reassess it. Sometimes it's not so clear. Another time it's super clear. As soon as they sit in front of you, you know.
Yes.
So it's sometimes not a very nice conversation or comfortable conversation, but then you go into the area where you talk with them about mental health, how your mental health is linked to your digestion, and, for example, someone with IBS. And if mental health is 50% of the recovery of an individual with IBS, if we don't have a good mental health and a good support, then it's really hard to manage it. I can give you the best diet in the world. I can go to your house and cook to you, make the whole plan, tailor-made, do everything. But if your mental health is not in a good space, you will still be triggered. They've done plenty of studies where they've put individuals in specific controlled settings, and without the mental health, there's nothing to do. There's very little for us to do. So this is, they improve a week or two, and then they get triggered again, and then this back and forth, and it just becomes this cycle that never ends. And I don't want patients to be dependent on me forever. I want to help them have tools to manage their condition.
Yeah, and start also with their behavioral or
Exactly.
other emotional regulation, traumas, whatever comes up.
Depending on the profile, you know, one psychologist might work best or the other, or you just ask them to find for help. Have you considered doing physical activity? And you talk a little bit around how is their daily lifestyle, and you give tips on you can do exercise, you need to drink more water. Let's see with these changes how you feel, and come back and we'll see if the elimination diet is really necessary. And then I also need an appropriate diagnosis. And with digestive conditions, a lot of the times we don't get it, unfortunately, because some digestive issues don't have a specific test that you can do, and others do. So it's tricky. They need to get the test done. Some doctors just say, oh, you have this, and they give you a paper. That's your diagnosis. And individuals are like, what can I do now? So they start Googling. Internet's fantastic for a lot of stuff, but for other stuff, if you're not critical with what you read, it can be tricky. And they do low FODMAPs diet for months. The recommendation is no more than 8 weeks. That's no more. The general for most people is 2 to 4 weeks, and then you do reintroduction, step by step. It's like a treatment.
Yes.
And people just do it indefinitely because no one gave them the information. No one said, hey, and if you have IBS but you're constipated, this diet is actually not going to help you. It only helps for individuals that have diarrhea or have mixed IBS. So there's a lot of, yes, we have a lot of tools, but a lot of the time they're not implemented adequately. So each individual has a different need. Yeah. And different way of regulating themselves as well.
What is the problem today around modern food and how we source it?
First of all, is we've disconnected ourselves from consuming local produce, understanding the seasons of the foods. Some are very clear, like strawberries or cherries. But lettuce and tomato, we assume we have them all year round. And in theory, we shouldn't eat them all year round. And then I think we also lost a bit of the tradition. Here in Spain, I observed, like, yes, we live in a Mediterranean and we do have a kind of Mediterranean diet. But more and more, we're getting more disconnected of it. And eating more convenient processed or pre-packed food. And I think that probably is one of the biggest challenges I find. People don't know anymore where food comes from. Is it from a tree, from a bush, from a plant on the ground? Basic knowledge around the food has been lost.
Why is it so important to eat local and to eat not the same food all year long?
So I like to think nature is extremely wise, and they provide us with what we need in that time of the year. So now we're in spring. In spring, here where we're living, we have a lot of citrus fruits. And by coincidence, or maybe not, we actually need that extra vitamin C this time of the year because the weather fluctuates a lot. We have a lot of changes. It's warm, it's cold. So we need to give our body an extra support of our immune system to face these challenging changes. And I think that's a beautiful thing that we have with seasonal food. It just provides us with the nutrients that we need. In the summer, we're more exposed to sun and heat and humidity, and nature in the Mediterranean provides us with a bunch of fruits and vegetables rich in water and rich in minerals that help us hydrate us, and rich in antioxidants, which also help us fight back the effects of the sun in our skin and in our body, for example, that oxidation that takes place. So nature is quite wise in this way. We've just, most of human or most of society has lost this connection of eating seasonal, and we just eat all year round the same. So the tomatoes in January are not local. So they probably have a lot of pesticides and fungicides, which we don't really want an excessive amount of those in our system. We need to make sure to wash them properly and remove them from those vegetables. And they're not as tasty and not as rich in antioxidants. It's like having a diluted version of those antioxidants than those beautiful tomatoes you get in the middle of the summer.
We have a lifestyle today. We travel.
Yes.
We maybe in spring go for vacation and somewhere in the Middle East, and all these activities, or we have to travel for business to Japan or to South America. So this is completely disturbed for many people.
Yes.
For business or leisure reasons. So how is it for them? Is it really necessary? And the other point is, I mean, where we live, let's say, in Mallorca, kiwi may not be the fruit of the environment, but still, so we should never eat then kiwi, or how should we react to fruits and vegetables which never grow in our area?
I like to keep it neutral. I think individuals need to get enough information and then be able to decide by themselves what is more convenient for them. I think it's, as a healthcare professional, it's a responsibility we have to inform you, give you all the information we have from the specific topic if you don't have that information. And once you have the information, you can decide. It's like when you go and buy a car. You go and check all the information of the car, consumption, pollution, taxes, how expensive it is, the features, and you compare it to many others. And then you decide which one's more suitable for you. Or when you go and buy a home, same thing. So when you're going to buy food, you need to understand, are you willing to commit ethically or not? Because if you don't, then it's up to you. Are you willing to commit in a way where you want to have a clean eating habit and you don't want to have pesticides and fungicides on your diet? It has a cost, it has a commitment, it conditions your diet. So if it conditions your diet, you need to be able to do it responsibly. So that's one thing. So once that's cleared, and then also you have the religious part behind it. I like to respect everyone's religion. So if you don't eat one thing, let me give you another alternative that is suitable for you. And then there's the other part, who doesn't love a nice, beautiful mango? I think I've never met anyone that doesn't like mango. I love mango. Luckily now in Mallorca, we have mangoes and avocados. They're not the same price as the ones that get flown from South America or from the south of Spain, but they're local. So what are you committing to? The price? To the what's on your fruit and vegetable? It's that's the tricky part. So for me, it's a very open conversation. For me personally, I like to eat clean. I eat as much as I can locally sourced food and from the season. My husband complains in the winter is very boring. But it's a commitment that I decided to take with my dietary habits a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm a bit spoiled because I grew up in Mallorca and I have access to
A lot.
to farms and a lot. And, I have in the family, my brother has a small little farm. So we can get a lot of our veggies from there. Or we have the local farmers market that are very accessible to go and purchase. But of course, it's not economically accessible for everyone. So I think that's the big thing. So and then when you're traveling, I personally love eating local food. I do my own research from what's seasonal or not in the area. Of course, my education helps me a lot with this because I did study anthropology and food and culture. So I have a lot of knowledge of this, but a lot of people don't. But when you go to a foreign country, why don't you just try their food as well? It's a big part of their culture.
This is what I find maybe difficult, or I would claim that most of people find it difficult to recognize what is local, what is not local, and what is seasonal and what is not seasonal
Exactly.
in the area I am right now. So if I go to the shopping supermarket next door, some may have challenges to decide, okay, now I need to buy something local. What is it local? Because everywhere you have the same things all year around. Tomato is available all year long. Strawberries are available in the shops all year long. So we lose the connection to nature in a way that understanding, now does strawberry comes in January or in February or March, or we don't have this sense anymore.
Have a sense where your base is, where home is, where you do the majority of your meals. So not home, but where you're living, right? Where you go to work. And when you're traveling, just go back to the real basic. Eat enough vegetables. So make sure half of what you eat is vegetables. Make sure you eat some fruit every day. Recommendation, 3 to 4 pieces of fruit a day. And those are easy tips that you can apply anywhere you go in the world. Maybe not anywhere. I mean, in the tundra, it's quite hard to have enough veggies. So you just eat reindeer and fish. If you're in the middle of nowhere. But that's a very small percentage of the globe, where if you're traveling for business, all of this 99% of the times can be extrapolated to your diet. Veggies, fruit, enough water intake, a healthy kind of protein, and some carbs, and you just build your plate around it. And for me, that's I like to use the picture of the plate. It's trying to move away from the nutritional pyramid and doing a more visual tool for individuals where you visualize a plate and half of the plate is the veggies. 1/4 will be your carbohydrates and 1/4 will be your protein source. It's quite balanced. You can play around with they're not fixed. But what it is fixed and what should be the main role of your plate, like I like to say, it's the vegetables actually, and not the steak.
So 50% of what we eat should be veggies, basically.
Yes.
Cooked or raw? Is there any?
On your day-to-day basis, raw vegetables are very suitable. Some vegetables are not so nice to eat raw, or you can digest them differently. And then when you're traveling, it depends where you're traveling. So if you're in Japan, extremely hygienic, you can eat whatever, wherever, very little chance that you're going to have a food poisoning. If you're going to Southeast Asia, eating salad can be tricky. So maybe you will go for a cooked meal with vegetables. And if you have a look at their traditional meal, a lot of their vegetables are cooked.
Yes.
And then when it comes to fruit, make sure that you yourself, if it's an area where you know it's a bit tricky to have proper hygiene, you wash them and you manipulate them. You chop them. If not, if you're, Europe, more westernized, much more hygienic environment, then you just eat fruit. Very simple. Instead of eating processed meal.
I've been listening also to like that fruits with the sugar amount, so preferring veggies compared to fruits. You've been mentioning now a lot fruit.
Yeah.
How do you see the differences here? And what's your recommendation on fruit?
Fruits and vegetables have different properties, but they're very similar at the same time. And the similarities are they're packed with antioxidants and fibers. And one of the biggest roles of fibers in our digestive system is to regulate how we absorb nutrients. But for that, we also need water. And here's where the balance comes. So yes, you can eat 3-4 portions of fruit a day. It won't be an issue unless you have diabetes and you eat them all in one go or you're juicing them. Eating one orange and having the juice of one orange have completely different glycemic peaks.
Yeah.
Because the juice removes all the fibers and it's much easier for your body to absorb those carbs and make a big peak. So your sugar levels go up and then they go down. And when they go down, it makes you be more tired. But on the other hand, if you eat that orange, then the way your body absorbs those sugars is not so easily. So the fibers, let's imagine you have here a molecule of the sugar, here are the fibers. You need to break this to be able to absorb it. So it takes a physiological process to be able to absorb. And it won't be absorbed on the same rate, and it won't be metabolized on the same rate.
Yes. So it's the same amount, but it's digested during a much longer period
Exactly.
by the body.
So you won't have those big peaks.
Yes.
You will go up, and then it will stay high, and then it will go slowly down.
Yes. What about juice out of fruit, veggies?
It's a personal debate because in Latin culture, South American cultures, we drink a lot of fruit juice or smoothies. It's a big
Yes.
cultural thing. Then, on the other hand, you have these glycemic peaks. So juicing, especially with vegetables, can be an incredible source of electrolytes and a natural isotonic, a way of rehydrating. I'm not a big fan of these diets of juicing because there's a high risk on the other side, which no one talks about, which could be not having enough proteins, not having enough fibers, encouraging sugar peaks. In some individuals, it could affect your microbiome severely. And it's just this, it's like the small letter that no one tells you with juicing. But I think it's an incredible tool. And in a few occasions, it can really help you rehydrate. So someone that's going through a process who is severely dehydrated, it can be a very good tool to help them. But also trying to flush too many toxins in someone that, for example, has a habit of abusing substances. If you try to flush them all in one go and not respect the natural flow of the body, it can have severe effects on how the person is managing the flushing out, on your mental health, on stress. So it's a tricky one.
So whenever you want to do too much in a short period of time,
Yeah.
it's not always a healthy process.
No.
Like like a complete strict diet or diets just with liquids. There is also I've come across like retreats with water diets. They
Yes.
only drink water to, I mean, everything you leave out, it will have an effect on your body, but also negative effects, what you're saying.
So it depends on how much time you're doing
Yeah.
this. So if you're doing it through a short period of time and it's exclusively juicing for a couple of days, for some people they find it helpful. Scientific evidence is, some studies say it's very beneficial, some studies say it's not. But we go again to what we talked previously, which is how were those individuals eating before this intervention?
Yeah.
So I'm more in favor of let's balance and give you the base of your diet, give it some stability and see how your body responds. If you need something extra, then we'll do it. This quick hacks doesn't really help. And if you really need those nutrients urgently, we have other options. You can have it intravenous. You can have supplements that have a better assimilation, probably less side effects. A lot of people, when they do juicing, they have severe diarrheas and they're actually not rehydrating. They're dehydrating. So it's again, one size doesn't fit all.
So doing something for a short period of time may work for some people,
Exactly.
but doing this over a longer period of time, to be careful and have professional support.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we go a little bit deeper into the topic of IBS? You mentioned that on a couple of occasions, like IBS and the microbiome and how is it connected? Wherever you would like to start.
So when our digestive system suffers a big change and it's not functioning how it should be, so how is that? So going to the bathroom 1 to 3 times a day max, and every day or every max 3 days, that's a normal rhythm of depositions of your feces. Anything outside of that, it's an abnormal transit of your fecal bolus or of your feces. So once that is clarified and people understand this, they start understanding and interpreting their feces better. IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. It means that there's a part of your large intestine that is incapable of fermenting a group of fibers. And that causes you to either have diarrhea or constipation or mixed symptoms. And it can come along with other symptoms, which can be headaches, joint pain, again, all those symptoms from this chronic inflammation. You can have eczemas, highly linked to neurodivergent individuals, so especially in the spectrum of the autism or ADHD as well, or ADD. So there is a huge link also with these conditions, digestive conditions, and these kind of neurodivergencies. And basically, when your bowels don't work well, your microbiome gets altered because some bacteria will thrive better in a certain environment than other. So if you have a lot of water in your system, in your digestive system, because of diarrhea, and it's having this osmotic effect where water is getting drained from your body into the lumen of your intestine, then some bacteria thrive better in that environment, but others just get flushed out.
Yeah.
And then when you're constipated and the environment is more dry and has a different pH, then other bacteria thrive better. But also the food that we eat and the stress has an impact on bacteria. And we have bacteria from our mouth all the way to our anus. So in all our digestive tract, these bacteria have different roles. Not all of them are bad bacteria. It's completely the opposite. They live in an ecosystem. They need a certain balance to be able to thrive and do their job in a certain way. And some bacteria are in charge of degrading. Some are in charge of moving some nutrients to one place to another. Some are in charge of communicating to your hormonal system, hey, we have enough iron, we can work this way. So they have different roles between them. And together, they make that our body work the way it works. So they are essential for us. But we need the balance. And the balance it's like nature. It shifts. It's not fixed. It can be modified. But then when it's out, either too much or too low, then everything else gets unbalanced. And then you can have other effects. So it's a very complex environment, the microbiome.
Absolutely understand it's complex. And I mean,
Yeah.
when we talk about billions of
Yeah.
bacteria in our gut, and how much do we really know today about it? So we can tell with evidence, this is it.
We know a lot. We'll be surprised. So it's not only bacteria, it's viruses, it's protozoa. So it's a whole ecosystem. We do know that we have bacteria that transports nutrients. So all of those are identified. We do know that we have bacteria that help regulate, that are influenced by cortisol. We do know that we have bacteria that regulate serotonin. We do know, for example, we do know that some nutrients feed some bacteria that have an impact on serotonin, butyrate, we just talked before. We also know that there are specific type of bacteria that are in charge of regulating the transit of our intestines. So how long does the fecal bolus needs to take place inside and be out? We also know that if we're lacking specific groups of bacteria, there's a correlation that we're lacking some sort of nutrient, or it's affecting one of our hormones or a group of hormones. And the list is quite amazing. We also have bacteria that have been identified, like Archimensis has been identified to regulate our appetite. It's linked in our appetite and how we manage appetite. So there's a lot. There's so many studies being published. It's probably one of the areas that's been mostly researched nowadays, because we're linking bacteria to everything: respiratory health, gut health, mental health.
It's fascinating, all these combinations and diversity which is available in our gut. I compare it with like the comparison like in the forest or the biodiversity.
Yes.
There is this this concept of the nature has to be diverse
Yes.
in a certain ecosystem to function in a best way. And is it correct if I assume the same, let's say, for our gut?
Microbiome exists in many different areas of our body. We have it in our skin, we have it, women has it in their vagina, we have it in their lungs, but the most diverse one is probably the one that goes from our mouth all the way to the gut. And that's a whole ecosystem. And it's like different, I'm trying to think, like the world, imagine it's the world, and each part of our body is a country or a continent, and they each have a role to keep it all in balance. So it's a little bit the same. In the mouth, we have a group of bacteria to help degrade the food. And then we have some bacteria all the way down to our stomach. And then in the stomach, because we have a different pH, we have a different group of bacteria that thrive. And those are the one in charge with the acid to degrade the food, to make it more easy for our intestines to absorb. And then the intestines, which are an amazing organ and huge, it's each area of the small intestine is in charge of absorbing different types of nutrients or vitamins or minerals. And it's all enabled by bacteria that work together. And then it goes all the way down into your anus. So a very known example will be if you have Helicobacter pylori, it will be located usually where your stomach connects, you have a sphincter that connects the stomach to the small intestine. Right there. It's the place that they like to be. It's where they test to see where it is. But you can also find them in your stomach, and you can find them in your intestine. Depending where it's located and where it decides to thrive the most, it can create your pH in your stomach to go down. So you lose the ability to digest food properly. So your body's creating more chloridic acid to digest food. But then that has an impact on all the way down until your anus, because if the fecal bolus has changed the pH, then all the bacteria around has to shift and readapt, because the pH is different and they don't thrive the same way on pH variations. So usually individuals that have a huge amount of Helicobacter pylori and they get this diagnosis, oh, you have SIBO or dysbiosis because Helicobacter pylori, just means this specific bacteria has managed to move and shake around the rest of bacteria in your system. And that's having an impact on how you digest and absorb food. And as a result, you're probably having diarrhea and acid reflux.
This biodiversity has been also, I've been reading, reducing over time.
Yes.
Also in some old cultures, when they live in tribes and more with nature, they have a more diverse
Yes.
gut bacteria or all over microbiome. How is this affecting our health? And this is one of the factors from the epigenetic side affecting our gut, and vice versa, then affecting how we respond to our environment.
So obviously, less close exposure to other individuals has a direct impact. We exchange bacteria with individuals. Very interesting fact is you most of the times choose a partner that has a microbiome that could be compatible to yours, and they balance each other. Very interesting fact. And we live with our partners or our family. We don't live in big communities anymore. We don't have to go very back in history to see that 4 generations ago, most individuals were living more in like bigger group of families, bigger communities together. It's not that long. It's only 3 to 4 generations ago where you had the grandparents and the uncles and the cousins all in the same house, or all spending time in one house, usually the grandparents, and then at nighttime. So all of these social dynamics have changed a lot, and we've become very individualistic. Then we're not so exposed to the soil. We're not exposed to this food directly in contact with the soil anymore. We have a lot of hydroponic farming. That also has an impact. So the diversity is slowly being not so diverse. Oh, that's what we think. But we weren't studying microbiome the way we're studying it now 100 or 200 years ago. We can go look back in samples. Sometimes you can figure out that there's been more variety. But a lot of the times it's more assumptions. We don't really have the actual data. But we do know that we are slowly reducing that diversity.
On one hand side, we are reducing the microbiome diversity, but we definitely affect each other with our microbiome on different levels, health and mental health level. And one thing comes to my mind. My father used to say, "Tell me who you," as a child. I remember as a child, he was telling me like, "Tell me with who you surround yourself with, and I tell you who you are." And maybe we can apply this also to the microbiome. Tell me with what microbiome you interact with, and I tell you what your health is.
Yes. This is why microbiome or fecal transplant has come as one of these new emerging therapies. They don't directly get feces and feed it to you. They encapsulate it, they extract it, and they elaborate these very nice capsules to give you the bacteria that you need, or that the individuals think you need, to be able to diversify. Because sometimes some individuals get so removed of bacteria that they don't have this diversity. But certainly there's a correlation between who you're surrounding yourself and your mental status, or how you're feeling, levels of happiness, being active or not. Also, if you're using or abusing of substances or not. All these things, you see, it's people in specific surroundings.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's obviously a social part of it, and a psychological part of it, which is a big part, but there's also this microbiome part to it that contributes. So it's always multifactorial. It's not only one thing.
Definitely, it's not a one way.
Yeah.
It's more complex and as an ecosystem by itself. But I like the idea. If I surround myself with happy people, I might be happy from the inside out.
Yeah.
So yes, no, that's fascinating, and I understand the microbiome affects our mind, affects our
Yes.
mental health as well. It's not just on what our immune system or inflammation will be as an effect. What's your experience? Have you any examples, or what is it affects on the mental health side?
So before I was digging so much in microbiome in my career, I could clearly see individuals with chronic pain, chronic conditions, once they've improved their dietary habits and their day-to-day habits, of improving sleep, a better mental health management, giving different kind of tools, and walking in nature, and all the group of things, they certainly have a better state of mind. And that was very clear. I have this one case, I think I'll never forget this case, was a lady. She had a multiple chemical adverse reaction. And she couldn't live a normal life. And previous to when she came to see me, she was cleaning hotel rooms. And she developed chronic pain, and she was just flaring with multiple substances, being exposed to perfume, to coloring on clothes. So she sent me a very kind email saying, I have this situation. This is the report from the allergologist. When I come to see you, please don't use anything with perfume.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I was like, wow, okay. And she was working in this hotel in the south of the island. And I was like, okay, sure. So I booked the whole afternoon for her. I made sure my colleagues went there in that clinic, and she came and explained. And I told her, I'm going to be very honest, I don't know where to start. But I do know that your diet needs to improve. So let's give it a shot and let's see how it goes. Because this was more than 10 years ago, I think. I was like, I don't know where to start. There's no official protocols for someone in this situation. Anti-inflammatory diet, that's the only tool I had. So we did an anti-inflammatory diet, her digestion's improved, her immune response improved, and she started feeling better. So she started being able to access other therapies as well. So she started doing osteo, she started doing physio to help with her chronic pain, and then she stopped coming. Sometimes this is something we see in the private practice. People just stop coming. You never know what happened to them. Yes. And 5 months later, I got a really nice email. Fernanda, thank you so much. My health improved so much that I can take my kids to school. She wasn't able to take her kids to school in 4 years. She couldn't leave the house without a face mask. We're talking before COVID, before face mask was something normalized in the Western world. So she was wearing face masks. She was wearing these big goggles, super paranoid and scared. And she said, my health improved. And it's nothing, we don't know how to measure this, but improved. And she could take the kids to school. She could go to a supermarket. She wouldn't react the same towards chemicals. She will have an itchy skin, but she wouldn't have a massive flare-up that ended up in an ER. And this for me was like, wow, this is why I'm doing what I do, because I wanted to give people a better quality of life. And this is probably one of the most extreme cases I faced where no one knew what to do. And I said, I don't know, but let's try this tool and let's see how it goes. I can't promise anything because I don't have any scientific data to back me up. But I do know, and I'm certain that if your immune system responds better, your symptoms should be improved and not so dramatic. And it was. And it was amazing. And this person, she couldn't go back to work. She's very restrictive lifestyle. But the fact that she can do small little day-to-day things that made her so happy was already amazing. So yeah, some things you can't really measure, or we're still trying to find a way to measure it or put it in a tangible way.
Yeah. Well, beautiful story. So definitely had a huge impact on one person's life.
Yes.
There. Yeah. We understand like this, all the stress and lifestyle. We have these tensions. We talked about our jaw, other areas I could think about, the neck, people get tense with, but a lot of emotions I feel like people hold in their gut.
Yes.
In a way that they are disconnected from their gut, from the body, but most of the body is kind of also around the gut, and this disconnection leads to tension in the gut, and has this also like emotionally an effect on the microbiome, the level of diversity, and the IBS and the inflammation and everything we're talking about here.
Yes. So actually, the interesting thing is when we have tension, the first part where we usually hold it is in our diaphragm. That's why breathing properly is so important.
Yes.
And it's so underestimated. I think slowly people are getting more conscious. So there's a bunch of papers, very interesting, talking about how stress makes our diaphragm be on a hypertone. So it's always contracted and not relaxing properly. And how that has an impact. So imagine you have your diaphragm here, and it goes all the way up when you inhale, and it stays up. It doesn't really go down the way it needs to. It affects all the muscles that support your digestive system, from the stomach all the way down to the anus, because pulling this up makes all your abdominal area work in a different way. So people with chronic stress experience bloating, probably also because the gut-brain axis and how stress affects cortisol and how cortisol affects the microbiome. But also physically, we have this situation where we can't relax our diaphragm, and then our abdominal area also gets impacted. So again, multifactorial circumstance where physically and then by the enzymes we have this connection. And then how that also affects the microbiome, and then how everything is linked. So, and then probably it also links to how we oxygenate ourselves. There's so much papers being published now that they're trying to link one thing and the other and say one is the absolute truth. But I'm a strong believer that the whole, all put together has an impact directly. Yes. So yes, stress has this direct physiological impact on the muscle, but also how the vagus nerve is connected to our intestines.
You can observe yourself how your breath is being handled, but how can we on a biological level test if we have a healthy gut or healthy microbiome?
First, easiest and cheapest way of doing is looking at your feces. That is the number one result. So not only observing how your body responds, so does it feel heavy, the digestion? Do I have a bit of reflux or not? Is my abdomen extremely bloated at the end of the day? So do I need to unbutton the button of my trousers in the afternoon because I can't keep with them the whole day? Those little physical things that we can observe, but also observing our stools. And it's a big social taboo where people doesn't like talking about them. but it's something I always bring on to my practice. It's one of the first questions I ask, how are your stools? And most people say, normal. And you're like, well,
Brown
but
most of the time.
and you're like, yeah, what does normal mean?
Yeah.
And then they're like, so I have some tools that I use. I have the Bristol stool chart. I either use some samples made out of plasticine, or I use a little chart that I print out and I make them point out which ones. So I brought some today.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I saw some.
Okay. So it's a chart that what it does, it categorizes the stools in 7 different points, from severe constipation all the way to severe diarrhea. We're going to start with constipation. You have kids, so
Yes.
you've probably been forced to look at their stools.
Yes.
So these small ones are severe constipation. This is the result of someone that their digestive system doesn't really work well. There's a bad connection, but also they have a lack of water and fiber consumption. But sometimes individuals can also experience this with aging, but also with medication. Then the other level of constipation, which is not so severe, it's this one. And this one has irregular surfaces on the top. This type of constipation is usually the one that when they're passing can cause fissures to individuals,
Yes.
or when they really need to go to the ER and ask for help because they have a big volume and irregular surface. So it's not very nice to pass them through. Also lack of fiber, lack of water, and a lot of the times lack of oils. A lot of ladies doing very low fat diets have this kind of impact. Our body needs a bit of fat, but our feces also for hydration. And these are the normal ones. It's like a sausage, a little bit of irregular surface. This one could use a little bit more of water, but it's normal.
Yes.
And then the smooth sausage will be the ideal stools.
That's what I need to have.
This is what everyone should aim for.
Okay.
Easy to pass, long, and consistent structure outside. And then with plasticine, these next ones, these are harder to replicate. But then you have, from the smooth sausage, you have very wet stools that break. And this will be diarrhea, level 1. So you'll have small pieces and they don't have an actual shape.
Yeah.
They just come out, but it doesn't have a
More
specific
liquid.
shape.
Yeah.
A little bit more liquid. Then the other one, obviously this is not the texture, but this will be no shape at all, but it's still not 100% liquid. So it's like when you're playing with dough to make bread and it has some consistency, but it's not fixed. And then you have liquid diarrhea, which I just visually make a big brown pattern. So you have 7. And for some people, this will be number 5 is normal. Or number 1 or 2, the constipation is normal. And they don't realize that that shouldn't be your normal stools. But because they've been doing this every single day for many, 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 many years, they assume it's the normal. Yeah. So it's a big taboo. A lot of patients get red or uncomfortable. They don't like it. So the chart is usually less invasive than this. But I like bringing this out when I have teenagers or young adults. And it's, we play around, we talk, and we make the conversation around stools a little bit more casual. And then they start opening up. But it is definitely a topic that not many people not many doctors either likes to talk about, or they just ignore it.
Do doctors have the full understanding today about these type of stools?
Yes, they at least should know the basic of the stools. I was surprised if they didn't. The thing is, it's usually not implemented in an anamnesis. So in the questionnaire you do with the patients, they usually don't include it.
I cannot think about a doctor who ever asked me about my stool.
They just ask if you go every day.
Yes,
The most.
regularly. Or Yes, but maybe it's also, I'm not a typical case where I went to a doctor with a gut health issue, possibly, or
But it should be asked on a daily checkup if you go to a doctor in any kind of practice, because it gives us a lot of information. If they drink enough water, if they have a correct diet, do they have some sort of infection? Do we need to take some samples if there's some infection? If not, what is going on that their rhythm is not adequate? Do they have a condition? So what's one of the most extreme cases is colon cancer. If we do this every day in a practice, every time you go to a doctor and they ask you about it, you just need 3 questions: which shape, which frequency, and is it easy or not to wipe? With those 3 questions, you have so much information if you have the knowledge to interpret it, let's say it, and you could prevent colon cancer.
Good. I will definitely start looking at my my stool, and but you can also take samples.
You can take samples of microbiome. You just need to have very good labs that interpret those tests, and they go through the genome of those microbiome. And that will be the most precise way of testing your microbiome. But you also need to take into consideration that your microbiome changes every day.
All right.
So it changes with your diet, it changes with stress. So if you had a very nice, relaxing Sunday, that you went to the beach, you had a nice meal, your microbiome will be in one way. And then it's Wednesday and you're stuck in traffic and you pick up the kids and you're like frustrated. That's it. Your microbiome's different.
Yeah.
So we have some parameters, and then we have some that gives us this big red flags. Okay, there's a SIBO or dysbiosis. We need to look into it. Otherwise, there's not much more we can do.
Yeah.
They're in the normal parameters. Let's see if there's some specific, let's see if they don't have heavy metals, if they don't have parasites. Let's check if there's no Helicobacter pylori or the bad bacteria. And then there's not much more. We have a lot of information, but we're still learning how to interpret it.
What does sport have as an effect on our stool?
So moving activates the connection of the vagus nerve, so it stimulates the movement of our intestines. So when you're doing sports, you're activating a part that's very passive in your brain, a response that's very natural. It's an animal response, let's say, and that is directly connected to your intestines, and it helps activate the movements of the intestines. So they do something like this. They contract and relax, moving the focal bolus down. When you have a very sedentary lifestyle, this is very slow and not as efficient and energetic. So that's a big role of sports or physical activity.
Yeah, so doing sport helps to speed up the digestive process in the intestine.
It's not speed up, it's regulate.
Regulate.
Yes, it helps regulate and modulate the response so that our intestines work in the rhythm that it should. Because we're not meant to be sitting in a chair the whole day.
Yes, yes. When we do such a stool test you mentioned, what information do we get out of it today, and how to make interpretation of it?
Wow, there's so many labs doing stool testing now. Some are very reliable, some not so much, very superficial kind of knowledge. So, as I mentioned, we can see if we have parasites. We can see if we have the bacteria that we don't want to be there. We can measure if we have SIBO or dysbiosis, if we have IMO, which is a dysbiosis with those bacteria that use more methane. And we can also detect if we're lacking specific bacteria that come as a result of degrading a group of foods. And that's pretty much it. If you do genetic testing of the gut microbiome, then it can determine if your body, as it is in this moment, is capable of digesting food. So we can use it for IBS, for example. We can use it for detecting IMO or SIBO or dysbiosis. And then the other digestive pathologies, you can actually do it by looking at the lining of the gut. So it's a tricky one, but we can read a lot of things. We can see if the person has been consuming substances as well. There's a result in the feces sometimes, but it all depends on the type of the test.
So we understand, let's say this way, what we can address. How do we treat IBS, the inflammation? We know how it's created, how we can avoid it maybe, but is there any a specific treatment to it you prefer to do with your clients?
So many years ago, I was very focused on only a low FODMAPs diet. And then I discovered low histamine diet. So my personal protocol when I have a patient is I first analyze how they eat and how they drink and their habits. If everything seems to be reasonably healthy, then I say, okay, what are your symptoms? And then I see what symptoms they give me. So are you constipated? Do you have diarrhea? Do you have headaches? Do you have eczema? Do you have allergies? Do you have a runny nose? Do you sneeze a lot or not? Do you have asthma? Are you neurodivergent? Do you have muscle pain? Do you have joint pain? Because all of these give me information. And then we have this system of pointing of points with for individuals that can't degrade histamine properly. And if you do this questionnaire and they give you more than 3 points out of 5 questions, then they're a good candidate to do the test. So I like to do this quick test, and I take them to take a histamine test and a DAO enzyme test to see if your histamine in your system is how it should be, in the levels that it should be, or you have a buildup in your system. And if you have the enzymes necessary to degrade the histamine. If you don't, then you probably have digestive response and migraines and others, so we'll do a low histamine diet. Both low histamine diet and low FODMAPs diet have things in common, but are very different diets at the same time. They have a prescribed protocol where we use it as a therapeutic tool, where you use this diet depending on the patient from 2 to 6, max 8 weeks. And those will be extraordinary cases, 8 weeks. Usually 4 to 6 is where it's convenient to work. Otherwise, if we prolong it too more, we're reducing the diversity of that microbiome in a way that could condition the health of the person in a negative way for the future.
Okay.
So it's a therapy.
Restricted period only.
Yes. And then we do the second phase where we reintroduce foods. FODMAP's diet has a very established introduction of food, but with histamine, we take it depending on the patient. So I like to make it tailored. Each patient has a different way of introducing. So I introduce the foods, and then we measure their tolerance. If they have a DAO enzyme deficiency, which the test will give me the result, then you try with this elimination diet, we measure their threshold to some food. Because we can't do this. It's unsustainable to have a diet with so little variety.
Yes.
So some people will say, okay, I can eat apples, and some people will say I can't. So there will be some foods people can, some foods people can't eat, and you just see their tolerance. And then you create a list where say, okay, these foods are safe for you to eat, and these, depending on how you're feeling, not so much. Because your emotional state has a huge role into it. If you have the enzyme deficiency, there's some supplements you can take, like if you're lactose intolerant. So you take the enzymes and it will help you. So at home, you can do a low histamine diet with your personalized variety of food ingredients. And when you go out, you just take the enzyme. And that would be the ideal way of doing it.
Okay. So you tailor it basically
I
and
tailor
find
it.
out each person what is the reaction.
Yes.
So it's not one. Can you explain what histamine is and what its function is in our body?
So it's a protein that it's present in all foods. And each one of us have a different way of degrading it, just like lactose.
Right.
Our enzymes work differently. The more fermented a food is, the higher is in histamine. So fermented cheese, pickles, wine, beer, alcoholic beverages are really high in histamine. So a lot of individuals will have histaminosis or a low tolerance to histamine, and they don't know. They'll have 2 glasses of wine and get really red here. Or they get sneezy,
Yes.
or an itchy nose, or the next day they have a lot of allergies. And that's just because your histamine tolerance is not the same. And then you have the DAO enzyme, which is in charge of degrading it. So we have 2 things here. You have an enzyme that helps degrading it, but also your body needs to be able to eliminate it.
Yeah.
So you need to have enough fiber in your diet and enough water. Fiber will do this net. Well, it would collect the stuff that we don't want, and it drags it out of our digestive system. And then water will also help us do this and flush it through urine and help us with our metabolism. So both of those stuff is very important. How we eliminate and our enzyme activity. So yeah, it's present. The estimate is that the incidence is going to be very high. We're just scratching the little tip of the iceberg now. And we think that probably half of the cases that have been diagnosed of IBS is actually a deficiency to degrade or eliminate histamine of your system.
How does it work with fermented products? I mean, when I look around and you read that fermented products are something healthy, it supports our gut, helps diversify it, and
Yes.
but this is not in line with not for everyone. in
Not
this
for
case.
everyone, exactly.
Yeah. So you need to know how your body is reacting to it.
Yes.
Yes.
So you need to be able to listen and observe your body as well. Even though people claim that it's healthy, maybe for you it isn't healthy. And fermented food is one of those tricky ones. It's full of probiotics, but individuals with histamine intolerance don't take fermented foods. They can't also take bone broth, for example. And it's one of the go-to to heal leaky gut. But we can't with these individuals. So before prescribing any kind of nutritional recommendations, I like to eliminate the causes. And because the prevalence of histamine intolerance could be very high, but we still don't really know how high. We have some estimates, but we're not that sure how much it is. I just do the test. It's not very expensive. It's a cheap test. Some insurances cover it. The response is in 1 to 2 weeks you get a result. And then I can implement a diet or another. That's how I like to do it, because doing a very restrictive diet is not very nice.
And not sustainable for a long time.
Exactly.
The term leaky gut sounds scary. Can you explain to us what it is and how it's created and how can we prevent it or treat it?
Imagine you have building blocks. And to be able to sustain a house, they need to be together in a certain distance, and you have the cement in between. So imagine that's the lining of your gut or your intestines. The issue comes when these building blocks are not so tight against each other and they're a bit more separate. This usually happens when the bacteria in charge of regulating how we absorb are not working properly, and they are not able to maintain the structure.
Yes.
And then slowly it degrades. It can also happen with a parasite or a heavy metal or some sort of medication can also give you leaky gut sometimes. If you have a flea on you, it can give you leaky gut. You can get Lyme disease as well.
Okay.
So we have different origins to leaky gut. But the result is the wall of your intestine, the lining, is not solid enough. It's not tight enough. And it allows things to go through that we don't need them to go through in that specific format. So it could be nutrients, it could be bacteria. So the way it's being absorbed has an impact also on how we degrade it. So if the walls are healthy, we will absorb nutrients, for example, in the format that we can tolerate them. If not, we absorb them and then we have to eliminate it through another way. Or it can give us reactions like it could give us digestive reactions. It can give us physiological reactions like an allergy reaction.
And does it matter where this leaky gut, in which area it manifests?
It's usually in the last part of the intestine. So
Usually.
it's the gut and the last part of the large intestine is where it usually happens. It does matter because every section of our intestine is in charge of absorbing different group of nutrients. So what happens there is the water absorption and also the absorption of some specific nutrients. So it can affect us. You can have iron deficiencies, for example. You can be dehydrated. Yeah. So we have so when someone comes with symptoms of a leaky gut or constant diarrhea, which causes leaky gut, then we heal the gut after we eliminated the possibilities of for example, a DAO deficiency or a histamine intolerance. I focus on giving the gut stability and regaining the lining of the gut. And then we do the diet. Sometimes we play one thing or the other. So these tools
But it can be reverted.
It can be reverted. It is reverted.
Yeah.
But you need to know the origin. Is it pharmaceutical? Is it or a drug abuse? Is it from alcohol abuse? Is it from parasite? Is it because I got Lyme? You need to know where it comes from to be able to treat it.
Yes.
So that will be a way of treating it.
So you like to work with diet and individualize the food intake. What about supplementation?
Supplementation, the same. I like to make it tailored to the individuals. So with probiotics, I have a very small range that I like. I feel a lot of them, the efficiency is not as what they claim to be, but it helps to give the gut stability and absorb the nutrients as it should be absorbed. Then there's two go-to that most people need, which is vitamin D and magnesium.
Yes.
Especially because we're living in a society where we're so stressed that we actually need the magnesium to help recover the physiological effects of stress in our body. And yes, we can get a lot of magnesium through our diet, but there's certain states of stress, or if you have an autoimmune condition, the demand of magnesium is higher. If you're a neurodivergent individual, you need more magnesium. So we need more magnesium, vitamin D. And then omega-3 is when you can play around. Individuals that don't eat much fish, then you need to supplement with omega-3, because even though they eat fish once or twice a week, the meat volume that they eat is so high that it makes their diet pro-inflammatory because they're taking an excess of pro-inflammatory fats or saturated fats and not so much polyunsaturated fats. Even though you can give them olive oil and nuts and seeds and all those beautiful sources of polyunsaturated fats, it's not enough sometimes if that volume of meat is too high. So we play around with that. And then individuals that smoke or just quit smoking, which is one of the things we can sometimes treat at balance, I give them vitamin C to help them recover faster from the physiological response. So just a little help to your system to recover from the damage that you possibly could have done or unconsciously done to your body. And then we have, what else I really like? Vitamin B, the group of vitamin B. Again, individuals just came out of a cancer treatment. They need a supplement of vitamin B. Not during, but after. During, it really depends which kind of therapy they're doing. So supplements, it's quite tricky in that phase. But after, they need to supplement to recover because it's very aggressive. Pharmacological treatments as well, abuse of substances, they really do need, or individuals functioning with an extreme level of stress, individuals that have gone through a major loss and they're grieving.
Yeah.
That also helps their mental health. So some supplements help. If you don't have the luxury to provide yourself with the break for recovering or healing or grieving, then your body will need the support. In nature, you'll see an animal, if they lose their companion, the animal, if you have two dogs and one dies, the other one has a grieving period and doesn't do much. But we need to keep performing a lot of the times and working and functioning.
Yes.
So we don't give us this break. So the supplements help us to keep going.
On different levels.
Yes.
But you can also see that there are so many supplements suggested out there, this for this and this for that. And then you see like longevity and health experts take hundreds of different types of supplements every day. I wonder how this is affecting our body, our liver, because at the end, this needs also be absorbed and to be cleaned out of our body.
The foods that we eat today, unless they're sourced from a regenerative farming system, don't have the same volume of nutrients that it used to. That's one thing. We are living in a situation of stress, of constant stress, that the human body has never experienced before. Because before, we've been through critical moments in history, but then you close the doors, you'll be at home, and that's it. You're not so much exposed to stress usually. But now we have the screens, we have the blue light, we have the lack of sleep. So it's the extra stressors that are very new to the human body. We still don't know how much effect it has, but we do know that we're living more stressed. So the physiological needs of some nutrients have increased. We're also storing so much information. Before, you only read the local newspaper. And we're talking about one generation ago, not even two, one. You go back 50 years, that's it. You were reading local newspaper, watching the local news. You get some sporadic news from a big event somewhere, volcanic eruption, a war, a conflict, but just a very small news. Now we're constantly bombarded. So I think our brains are still not capable of processing this volume of information that we're being exposed. So it's trying to keep up and it's using our resources. So I think if you're not having a very balanced, clean diet, then some supplements are needed. But not all. Like I've seen crazy amount of stuff on social media.
Yeah, and my question is also, now, can I take 100 different supplements in one day? Where is the limit? What's because you could, if I would need to take in all types of supplements which are recommended out there for me, that will be maybe, I don't know, 50 to 100 different types.
Yeah, I think if you have a balanced diet and you expose yourself daily to sunlight without sunscreen for 15 to 20 minutes, then you probably only need more magnesium and probably, depending on your blood test results, vitamin D. I always ask for blood test results. I never recommend without having the results, because half of those supplements, you're going to flush them out of your system. And then in extreme situations or extraordinary circumstances where we're treating someone that is detoxifying their body from abuse of substances, for example, then we have different systems. We can do intravenous supplementation, which I think is an amazing tool, very easy to adhere, and you just give it that kick and it helps, which we have a colleague who's amazing doing this. And then we have oral supplementation that can also help, that they need to take it for a prolonged period of time. But it's really very individualized. And supplements should never substitute the food or the source, because the way it comes naturally is the best way we can absorb it. But it does help. So there are cases that it is recommended.
What do you do in your personal life privately to stay in balance?
It's changed a lot throughout time. Yeah. I started off with exercise and healthy diet. Then it improved with the diet, still with the exercise. In the past, I've practiced yoga for a long time. A lot of people don't know, but I'm also a yoga teacher, but just because I wanted the knowledge. So I think I try to balance mental health and physical health. So my rules will be sleep essential. For the last 5 years of my life, I don't negotiate with my sleeping hours. It's a priority. And I find myself privileged because I don't have kids, so I can do that. People that have kids struggle a little bit more. Hydrate myself properly. Always nourish my body with fruits and vegetables and good source of protein. I don't overdo the protein now anymore, except when I eat barbecue from my dad.
Okay.
And exercise. But yeah, sleep. It's so underrated. And it's so essential. This is probably the last thing I've included on my lifestyle. And I meditate. I like it in the morning when everything is quiet. I like to sit and take a moment and breathe and focus and visualize. Sometimes it's natural, and sometimes you kind of need to sit there.
Yeah.
But when you've done it for a long enough time, it really depends on your energy of the day. You'll feel it immediately. So I take long mornings to be able to do those steps.
That's part of self-care and caring of your microbiome.
Yes, I also think that when you live with an autoimmune condition and you've experienced gaining quality of life, then you value how essential it is to feel good.
Yes.
And you only appreciate it when you don't have it.
Yes, absolutely. What would you recommend everyone who's listening today or anyone in the world to do in their lives if you could speak to them?
Take a moment to listen and observe your body. It gives you many, many cues of the state of it is in and how it's managing with life. Drink water. I think I'll never get tired of recommending this. Drink water.
We learned that today.
Yes. I'm very insisting in this because I see it so often. It's keep yourself hydrated and then try to keep a balance. All these hacks, easy diets, quick fixes, it's just a Band-Aid. It's a temporary thing. It won't really solve the problem. So just finding a balance of having healthy diet and also being able to occasionally skip it or not really sit fixed with it because you're enjoying a different meal or you're traveling and you know it's temporary.
Yes.
The lack of structure.
And maybe don't forget still to enjoy life.
And enjoy life.
While doing all this.
Of course, just enjoy life. If you stick with strict rules, it's very hard to enjoy and be happy with it. I find great joy in food. I love eating.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like I was once asked, what's your favorite thing in the world? I'm like, food. Everything about food, the culture,
Yeah.
its, its complexity, what it nourishes you, everything, where it came from. I find it fascinating. So yeah, you need to enjoy life with whatever makes you happy.
This is what brings us together, food, most of the time.
Yes.
Socially, individually, with yourself. But we need to be, I believe, more conscious and grateful for the process of
Exactly.
enjoying food.
Exactly.
I believe you have a wonderful job because it's affecting almost every human on Earth, and everyone experience something with their gut, with their microbiome, with their immune system, with inflammation-related disorders and others. That it's so valuable, and I enjoyed a lot our conversation today, and I'm pretty sure that many out there also have now more information and tools to tackle the big topic of nutrition and healthy food. Thank you very much.
Thank you.